Welcome to Dark Horizon Creations. This time we're taking a look at the G.I. Joe Classified Series Dragonfly Attack Helicopter by Hasbro. Now, if you hadn't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to my social media accounts on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so you get a notification of when I post new content. Alright, so tonight I've got a really special and unexpected product review for all of you. This is the G.I. Joe Classified Series HasLab Dragonfly Attack Helicopter. This is not something that I was expecting to ever own, and I want to take a moment and thank my good friend Mr. Dale Poston, the owner of Galactic Comics down in Florence, South Carolina, for making this happen. So let's get right to it. First and foremost, the exterior box for the Dragonfly is a work of art. You can see here that it's got some monochromatic artwork of a squadron of dragonflies flying in formation, attacking targets. And if I slide it sideways and open the side panel up, you can see that it extends the artwork out. So it's just one large mural. That is really cool. On the top of the packaging, you've got the Dragonfly logo prominently displayed in the center. And on the back of the packaging, you've got some more monochromatic artwork. And on the bottom of the packaging, you've got a technical schematic with a side elevation and forward elevation of the Dragonfly. And it shows you the length at 34 inches and all of the details and features of the helicopter. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is open up the side flap again and pull out each of the trays. First and foremost, you've got the action figure tray. This tray contains the flight stand. And the bottom tray contains the helicopter. Okay, so for the sake of time, I'm going to do an unboxing of the helicopter parts, and I'm going to fully assemble it off camera and then come back and do the product review. But I want you all to be able to see this, particularly for those that may not be fortunate enough to own one. Here's your instruction booklet with your decal sheets, and there's a lot of decals in there. I don't have any intention of utilizing any of those. I'm going to do the same thing I did with the HISS tank and leave them in the plastic. Here's some of your blast effects. More blast effects. Your two AIM-9X Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. You got your two LAU-130 19-round pods for the Hydra 72.75-inch Hydra rockets. Each of these pods holds 19 rockets, and that's what you see molded in there in the plastic. You've got your vertical stabilizers. Main rotor blades. It's large side cannon that you can mount under one of the pylons. I have no intention of utilizing this at all. You got your horizontal stabilizers, the ammo belt for that cannon, and another component. Not sure what that is. Oh, the winch. Okay. Here's the tail boom for the helicopter. And according to Hasbro, you can remove this if you need to disassemble the helicopter for storage. And there's the main fuselage for the helicopter. All right, so here we have the Dragonfly outside of the packaging, fully assembled. This helicopter is over 34 inches in length. It is a really large toy. Seeing it in a photo or video doesn't do it justice. You have to have this in hand to be able to appreciate not just the scale, but how beautiful it is. All right, so I want to begin by talking about the nose of the aircraft. This is where the radar system for the aircraft would be, as well as some of the other avionics components. Just below that, you have the M197 20mm tri-barrel cannon, which is mounted on a ball turret, and you can see it is articulated. It will pivot up and down, rotate left to right. And with the weapon system officer, the helmet and sight is integrated to this gun, so wherever the weapon system officer looks, the gun will look. Next, I want to talk about these two smaller cannons mounted on the side. I don't really care for these. I actually searched for a way to disassemble the helicopter to remove those, and it really can't be disassembled without breaking it. So I'm going to try to find some way to make something to cover this, because on the real Super Cobra, where these guns are located, there would be sensors that are part of the anti-jamming and threat warning system. Next, we'll look at the avionics bay, and I'm going to use a precision screwdriver to gently open this so you can see what this looks like on the inside. And this is the loading bay for that 20mm cannon, and you can see the rounds here on the belt, and this is part of the motor system that drives the rounds when the gun is being operated, and that's pretty accurate to the real world Super Cobra. Next, we'll look at the cockpit and the weapon system officer station. Now, the canopy will open a couple different ways. You can gently lift it up here, and I say gently because this plastic, even though it's painted, is transparent and it will break easy. So you can lift the canopy up here. You can see that there are harnesses in both of the seats for both the pilot and the weapon system officer. They both have flight controls. You can see the cyclic control here for the pilot. There's also a cyclic up here for the weapon system officer, where he can take over the aircraft if he needs to. And if you depress the button on the top, you can activate the lights in the cockpit. And you can see how detailed some of that is. I will zoom in on that. That is a weapon system officer station, and there's the pilot station. And I'm going to close this and secure it down. And you can open canopies on the side, but again, you want to be really careful doing this because of those transparent hinges. And you want to slowly, see how it's popping in and out of place, slowly close it, and do that with it. On this side, pilot station has a side hatch that also opens, and you can see it's popping out of place right there. Next, I want to talk about the pylons and the weapon stations. So there are two pylons on the aircraft, port and starboard, or left and right. You can see it's got formation lights on the top as well as on the side under the sidewinder. On the left side is red, on the right side is green. These do not illuminate. So there are three weapon stations on each pylon. On the inboard weapon station, you can see that it has 4 AGM-114 Hellfire air-to-surface missiles, Typically on a Cobra and an Apache, they carry these on what is known as a 4x4 loadout, which means 4 on each pylon. These are fire and forget weapons. They have a microwave radar system in the nose and the seeker head here. Each of these missiles weighs about 95 pounds, and they can be fired from up to 6 miles away from their target. Sometimes they're called tank busters because this is the preferred weapon for attacking enemy tanks, and they will destroy literally every enemy armament system out there, as well as friendly armament systems. On the outboard weapon station under the pylon, you've got your Hydra 70 2.75 inch rockets, and this is the LAU 68 launch tube. It'll carry 19 of those. These are unguided rockets. They also have a newer upgraded version, which is semi-guided. They have multiple warheads that they can carry, and these are typically used for point targets as well as area targets. On the outermost weapon station, you've got your AIM-9X Sidewinder air-to-air missile. This missile has a range of about 9 miles, and typically these are used for engaging enemy aircraft. So if the Cobra were being tracked or attacked by, say, a Cobra helicopter or a Cobra fighter, they would engage it with those AIM-9 Sidewinders. And this is a active radar system in this missile, so it's a fire and forget. Now, the Dragonfly, like the real-world H-1 Whiskey Super Cobra, is a twin-engine attack helicopter, and it is fitted with 2 GE T700 turbine engines. And again, I'll use my screwdriver to try to gently pop this open. And that is pretty much accurate to the real-world engine placement on the Super Cobra. This is a widely used engine in several different variants. It's used on both the Super Cobra, the newer Viper. It's also used in the Black Hawk helicopters as well as the Apache helicopters. Next up top, I want to talk about the main rotor mast. So again, for those of you that have no experience with helicopters, no training, this is your main rotor mast. These are your blade sleeves that the blades are attached to and anchored into for the rotor mast. These are sometimes called control rods, otherwise known as pitch links. And this is a component called a swash plate. This top part is a moving swash plate. The bottom part is a fixed swash plate. Both of them turn while the mast turns. And as the pilot changes the controls inside the aircraft through a series of hydraulic levers and stuff, it comes all the way up to the rotor mast and moves these pitch links, which adjust the pitch on the main rotor blades. This top part here is called a Jesus nut. This is the main nut holding on all the components on the mast, and if this comes off, it's game over. The designers at HasLab went above and beyond with the details on this helicopter, and you can see that they have the appearance of carbon fiber as well as an aggressively angled tip on the blade. All of that is true to real-world helicopter design. And here is the rear exhaust for the twin turbine engines. Next, I want to talk about the tail boom. So here we have the horizontal stabilizers. So if you look at the horizontal stabilizers, they are attached to a swivel inside the tail boom. So if you move one, the other one moves. So last of all, I want to talk about the tail of the aircraft. Here you have the 2 vertical stabilizers, which are angled outward from the tail boom. You can take them and clamp them up together if you choose to do that. And you can see on the tip of each one, they've got anti-collision lights, and then you've got the NOTAR. And the NOTAR would typically be positioned up like this, and while they're flying, if the aircraft is going to turn right, it's going to face left. If they're going to turn left, it's going to face right, to counteract the effects of the torque from the main rotor blade. So that's a very ingenious thing that the designers incorporated for the Dragonfly. Okay, so I want to take a moment and demonstrate the other electronic light features on the helicopter. So if you depress the button once, the turns on the lights in the cockpit, which we've already seen. If you depress it twice, it turns on those two forward landing lights. If you depress it a third time, there's a searchlight that's on the bottom of the fuselage. And I'll pick it up so you guys can see that. And if you depress it again, it turns off the landing lights. Press it a fifth time, excuse me, it turns off all of them. Next, I'll demonstrate for you guys how to attach the helicopter to the flight stand. So here's the flight stand. It's made out of plastic and acrylic. You guys can see that I've already got it assembled, and the acrylic part just goes into these three little detents. It can come apart for storage. And you've got these two pegs that are going to go into two ports on the bottom of the helicopter. If I turn it over, you can see those two ports. And stabilizer bar came off, but it's going to have to come off anyway for it to go on there. And it's going to mount on there just like that. Now I do want to take a moment and talk about your blast effects. So first and foremost, you've got this tray of smaller blast effects, like weapons fire from the guns and stuff. I'm not going to take these out. You guys get the point of what they are, how to use them. So the larger blast effects, I do want to demonstrate so you guys can see how cool this looks. And they have a hidden dog bone on the inside of them. So if you wanted to use it on the Sidewinder missile, for instance, you could just plug it in like so, and it looks like the missile's about to fire and come off the rail. Or you could remove the missile and take the dog bone and plug it in here, and it looks like the missile's already come off of the rail. That's really cool. I do like that a lot. That looks really awesome. All right, so now that we've taken a look at the helicopter, let's talk about the action figures which are included. Each of these action figures features their own exclusive window display box specific to this set, with the classified series banner down at the bottom, HasLab logo below that, individual unit logos above the classified series banner, of course their name and call sign at the upper left, and the action figures prominently displayed in the pull-out tray. On the left side panel of each of the figures, you can see their skill symbols as well as some artwork of the characters down below that. On the right side panel, you can see that they have recreated the monochromatic artwork from the outside of the Dragonfly packaging. And finally, on the back panel, you've got monochromatic artwork of each of the characters with their skill symbols in the lower left below the artwork. All right, so here we have Wild Bill outside of the packaging. And let's bring him in close so you can see the attention to detail on his head sculpt, his cavalry hat, his vest. You see the intricate detailing on his holster, his belt, his gloves. He's got on a Dragonfly patch there. More detailing on the back of his belt. U.S. flag patch. He's got on brown cowboy boots all the way around. That's a really nice looking action figure. For accessories, first and foremost, he does include this fixed blade combat knife. You can see it's got a drop point blade on it, blood groove, and that will go into the sheath on his vest. He also includes a pair of these Colt revolvers. See, they've got an ivory handle, a gold star on them. Really nicely done. I do like these. They, of course, will fit into the holsters like so. And he also includes his signature sunglasses. That's bad. Okay, so to get Wild Bill into the cockpit, you have to lift up the canopy first, which I've already done. Second, you have to pull apart the crash harness. Now, this has a mushroom peg you can see right here, which is inside of this loop, and you have to gently pull this out. If you put too much pressure on this, you could not only tear the mushroom peg, you could tear the harness apart. Remember, this is not a toy made for kids. This is made for adult collectors. I'm going to take his legs, place them through the lower part of the crash harness. Yeah, let's get his gun back in the holster there. And just slide his feet down like this. This harness is going to come up, hopefully over his hat. Yep, like so. And get his glasses back on him. And then you bring the bottom part of the harness up to here. And you're gonna have to pull the back loop off of his chest to have clearance to secure the mushroom peg in. And then you can position his hands on the flight controls, like so. So you can take either hand and extend his arm forward and just twist his hand around to get it on the cyclic. And you just kind of have to play with it, but you guys get the picture of what you're trying to do there. But you can see he's in the cockpit, and the cockpit absolutely will close with him in there, like so. Okay, so here we have ripcord outside of the packaging. Let's bring him in closer so you can see the attention to detail on that head sculpt. See, he's got on black flight suit, Night Force patch on there, jump harness, drop thigh holster for a sidearm, pouch for oxygen bottles, his altimeter, another Night Force patch. All the way around, this is a really cool looking dude. All right, let's talk about accessories. First and foremost, he does include a sidearm. I really like these pistols. These were the handguns that they included with the earlier release classified series figures, kind of futuristic looking. It's got an integrated weapon light, pick rail. You can see the rear target sight and front sight post. Really cool. I do like those. I like the holster that they've given him for that pistol. That fits it perfectly. Also included is his Javelin backpack for a parachute, and it will open, and you can see the plastic stress there. It does not include a parachute, but you could remove the parachute from the 60th anniversary Halo jumper and put one in here and it would work. I haven't tried one of those action figures as far as throwing them up in the air to see if the parachute works yet, but that's something that I'll get to eventually. Let's get it on here. Let's see if we can get a mushroom peg to go in. Sorta. Yeah, it's on. There we go. It also includes the skydiving helmet. It's got a movable visor. So it's got a Wilcox mount on there for nods. It's got a camera and a light attached to it there with a battery box in the back. that is extremely realistic. Also included, it says O2 mask, and it's just going to clip in to both sides of the helmet using those miniature mushroom pegs. The hose is going to plug in down here to the bag where the O2 bottles would be. Just press it down in there with some force. See if we can clip his mask back on both sides. There we go. Bring his visor down. And for primary weapon, he does include this rifle. It's got a detachable box magazine. I like these guns. These have been included with several action figures. It has a detachable suppressor. No warping on this gun at all. Now, if he were going to jump with this gun, he would have it strapped like this down by his side over here, because his O2 bottle is on this side. That is a really awesome looking action figure. Okay, so here we have Glenda Mulligan outside of the packaging. Now, for those of you who do not know who this character is, she actually was not a part of G.I. Joe. There was a company down in Argentina that I think they acquired the rights from Palatoy or something like that, and they produced a subline of G.I. Joe called Commandos Heroicus, and there was, I don't know, half a dozen figures that they made, and Glenda was one of the characters. She was a helicopter pilot. They are among the most expensive G.I. Joe figures that you can acquire today. A used 3 3/4 inch scale figure of Glenda easily goes for $600 to over $1,000. The whole set goes for $10,000 or more. So they're really, really rare, and it's very interesting that the design team for G.I. Joe chose to pick her as a figure to include in this set, because she's a foreign operative, still a part of G.I. Joe, but a really interesting choice. If you are an adult collector or fan, this is definitely one of those figures that you want to buy an extra one of and leave it in the box. So let's bring Glenda up close so you can see the attention to detail. She includes several interchangeable hair sculpts. You can see she's got on a blue and gray flight suit there with white gloves and gauntlets, white boots. Doesn't look too bad. I'm not crazy about the white. I'll tell you guys that right now. This might be a figure that I end up doing a repaint on, or a partial repaint on. And of all her accessories, I'm only going to bring out two. First and foremost, she does include a 1911 as a sidearm. And she's got a drop thigh holster for that right there. She also includes a blue and white flight helmet on the back of it. It's got her unit Commandos Heroicus on it. And it's soft plastic, so it will slide over her head sculpt like that. So that looks really cool. So I've got Glenda in the gunner seat, and I do want to point something out to all of you. See this buckle right here on the crash harness? See where it tore? It's not completely broke off, but it tore. It's made out of soft rubber, and that's what I'm telling you guys earlier. This is not made for kids. This is made for adults. It's very easy to break this stuff if you use too much force. And last but not least, we have Crazy Legs. A very awesome take on a classic figure. Night Force patch. black halo jumpsuit there, harness, drop thigh holster. Just all the way around, really cool looking action figure. I do like him. So to begin, let's talk about some of the accessories. First and foremost, he includes this rigger's hat. So, and it doesn't want to go on easy either. I presume he's a veteran of the 82nd Airborne, worked in the packing shed, helping dudes get squared away at Green Ramp before walking out to those C-130s and C-141s that no longer exist. Also included fixed blade combat knife, drop point blade, blood groove, black handle, and let's see. Yep, it fits nice and snug. I like how they attach the sheath inverted position. Also included is this sidearm. Very different looking handgun that I've seen with any of the Classified series figures. Looks like Sig and Smith & Wesson had a baby. Open muzzle for your blast effects. And go on his drop thigh holster. It also includes a jump helmet. And this is essentially a Mitch helmet. It's got arc rails. You see he's got his comm headset on there. This is kind of one of my pet peeves with the Classified series, that they don't include the same kit with all of the figures. And I just snapped chin strap. I just broke it trying to get his helmet on. That's okay. I can fix that easy. It does include 2 sets of goggles. These are the larger set to go around his helmet, presumably, and not over his eyes directly. I'm not going to try to put those on and stretch them and break that as well. It does include a parachute, and it'll go through that slot into the port on his back. I don't really like that chute. That's really, really small. I don't like that canister. I may purchase a 60th anniversary Halo jumper and cannibalize it to get parts to give him an actual javelin rig. And he also includes what looks like an MP5 40 round stick mag. It's got a red dot on high-rise mount, flipped up front sight, and folding stock. Never seen that before with Classified series. That's interesting. Get his trigger finger in there. So that's a really cool figure. I do like him. Overall, I have to say this set is worth every penny. It is the most incredible toy that I have ever owned. If you are a collector or fan of G.I. Joe, this thing is a must. I hope you guys have enjoyed the review. So there you have the G.I. Joe Classified Series HasLab Dragonfly helicopter by Hasbro.